I'm here to talk about the book, The Honor Code, and specifically about the foot binding. I will give my personal perspective on this cultural phenomena in China. I saw the last vestige of this cultural phenomena as I grown up in China. I was born in the mid of 20th century. As you can see, this phenomena actually gradually fading out of Chinese society at the beginning of 20th century. So when I grown up, I saw the last generation of those women who had bound feet, And what is more interesting is that my mother herself has bound feet. But her feet is not that 3-inch, that small, It would be too painful to bound a feet to that small size. Apparently, her father thinking, it's appropriate for him to bound her daughter's feet. But he is not so cruel, to make them so small, because that ordeal will be inhuman, My mother has several sisters. The youngest sister, I noticed, my little aunt, who just passed away last year, she did not have a bound feet. Apparently, you can see, as history progress, even my grandfather was gradually enlightened, He eventually gave up this foot binding things for her daughter, for his daughter. To a certain extent, I think you may say, honor play an important role in popularizing this social convention in China. The main motivating force is to enhance the value of their daughter in the marriage market. The book, take the sense of honor, family honor, as the main factors. I think the author pushed the argument a little bit further. From my personal experience, Chinese men were fascinated by bound feet. It's very weird and distorted psyche. This, I think, eventually pushed people like my grandfather, who eventually, in order to marry his daughter into a respectable family, he felt obligation and he felt obliged to bound his daughter's feet. Basically, women internalize the patriarchal values, and eventually they follow the trend. They become a victim of this convention. As history gradually progressed, when history entered the 20th century, many liberal-minded men, went abroad, and they see the Western values, the Western society. They began to dissatisfy with these decadent social conventions. They began to rebel against such social conventions. Foot binding no longer exists. Concubinage was fairly similar, decadent conventions. It exists before communist takeover. Essentially, it is misuse and abuse of Confucian ideology, because Confucius' disciple once made remarks. He said, to fulfill filial piety, you have to carry on the bloodline of your ancestor. To carry on the bloodline, it means you have to bear a son. If the wife failed to produce a son, then the husband will have the excuse. I need to try on another woman. This is how concubinage eventually came into a social convention in China. In recent decades, after communist takeover, of course, all these phenomena will be outlawed. I think this Western perspective is quite distorted. China used to be a very patriarchal society, but after communist takeover, China changed drastically. In today's Chinese society, I think women's status is very similar to women's status in America. One of the feminist delegation, they visit China, they try to collect materials, how women were prejudiced against in China. They visit a very famous writer, Wang Anyi, in Shanghai, and then ask her, do you feel any prejudice against you as you grown up? Wang Anyi's response actually surprised them. Wang Yi say, at my home, my husband actually did more housework than me. And also because of my female gender, it makes it easier for me to establish myself as a writer. Prejudice against women exists everywhere in the world, but I think China's status is pretty good.